Hey guys. All right, so this is part 4. I was gonna finish it in part 3, but my camera just cut off at the end, so we're doing it in 4 parts now. But it was getting kind of long, so this way I'll be able to like finish this one in good time. So it's perfect. I'm gonna just kind of go right back where we started. I just had this camera open so you can see me at the beginning part, but I don't want to have it lag at all, so I'm going to just be on this worksheet again. And right at the end of that one, I just started this section somewhere, so I'm going to just start right here on key agendas narrative. I started making my way down, but then it deleted like the last few minutes whenever that clip cut off. So I'm gonna just start here again on key agendas and narratives, and we'd made it out to like rent farms where the clip was still good. So I'm gonna just start there. I think I skipped that word. I didn't quite get to the cabal yet, but yeah, that's part of the 2030 agenda. Just to like finish up this line, but definitely watch that Follow the Cabal movie about that one. There was something I wanted to show you. Right when it cut off, I was talking about, yeah, rent farms, but like collateral and housing. So I was going into this example where I talk about say there's 100 banks, and that's like right where it cut off. But so for that example, I was going to talk about how banks collateral is all intertwined and why that could be problematic in an example. So say there's 100 banks and 100 houses, and like that's the market, just for like to make this example easy. Well, they're holding all these houses as collateral. So say one bank gets over leveraged somewhere on a different collateral that they have, and they have to sell their house. So the market's pretty dry for sales right now. I talked about the housing market earlier, but it's we haven't been buying houses lately because they're all so overpriced and no one has any money left. So they're gonna have to drop the price and sell these. And when that happens to just one house, right? So 100 banks own 100 houses in this example. If one of them sells the house for lower, it's gonna drop the price. And what that does is like raise the floodwater for everybody else. So like now there's only 99 houses left with 99 banks, but that next one is that much closer to being over leveraged now because the value of their housing collateral dropped. So now that guy's getting margin called, and it's going to be like one at a time get a margin called, house bank, until like it happens to the whole market at once, because all of a sudden when that last one dropped, now 10 collaterals are underwater at once, so they get margin called, and then 10 at once puts all the rest under, and then they all get margin called. So it's going to like stack in the whole industry, just based on how they have stacked these leverages. So moving forward with narratives, yeah, that was just like the example I had for that, but we'll stay on here. So clean energy is turning into the AI narrative. So yeah, clean energy, it was like you kind of saw like the rise of Tesla and the push for clean vehicles, but now you can kind of see like Elon Musk trying to get out of Tesla and like his SpaceX kind of stuff. He's still doing like SpaceX development, but uh, the Tesla's now one of the big seven, and it's been backed by the clean energy bubble all the way through its price growth. So like a lot of that might not be long-term sustainable fundamental value. And I think Elon Musk knows this, so the whole narrative is now changing towards AI. And it's crazy because, yeah, I talked about perplexity and ChatGPT and stuff, but it's just AI doesn't cut it, and it could be good, but it's like I was talking about perplexity and its sourcing. It's just they'll limit and control it to what they need it to be. They're not gonna like let AI be what it could be, and so it's the current running narrative. So yeah, you see companies like Tesla and Nvidia, and no one's even buying clean energy cars. Like people are, but like a less than they want, which would not support the narrative. So it's kind of falling apart. And then with the AI, it's like Nvidia is worth everything, but then Perplexity won't even uh, pull good sources. So it's like, sure, this company's worth everything while AMC's worth nothing. It doesn't make any sense. Like these narratives are getting worse and worse. They're falling apart. Uh, Twitter, that's like a we kind of covered some Twitter that Elon Musk took that company private and paid off everybody when he did that. He just bought the whole company off the exchange for like billions of dollars because he's like a super billionaire. Okay, so TikTok bill. This is crazy because it's called the TikTok bill. So you'd think it's about TikTok, but it's actually about political donations. And they just like hide that clause in there and front with 800 pages of like text. The problem is so uh, it's the wording. They call it the TikTok bill. So like I was saying earlier, like half. Uh, think about how dumb the average person is, and then half people are dumber than that. That's 4 billion people that probably will just see TikTok bill and think, oh, okay, a TikTok bill, and then that's as far as it goes for them. So you can see why that's dangerous. So then this is actually about like it's like some under the table stuff trying to get like certain narratives organized. Okay, APAC. I'm not gonna jump into APAC super deep, but notice the red is connected to like red and yellow. It connects straight to this narrative bubble, which like connects everything else. So we got uh it's packs. They're out of control. I have one here in red and one in yellow because it hits both. Oops, didn't mean to do that. It hits both of those big categories of groups, and it's all about control. I'm not going to go into specifics on APAC, but if you look at like, yeah, just go look up the history of APAC, and you're just going to see the companies they associate with, and it's like all bad news. And you're going to like probably find some surprising connections. It's all about control. All the like even all this stuff, the additional undermined constitutional things over here. Uh, Okay, let's see what else is in red. Exempt market makers, yeah, UBS, Inverse Kramer. You get the idea of these. I won't like beat those to death. Bot farms and chill army. So we talked about like bot farms and like how they can relate to like a blockchain. But what's crazy is so a shill army is like that is where if like say I go make like a Reddit account that's fake, that's a shill account. Like if it's just one I'll use that I never post on and never has followers, nothing, but I've had it and I can go like view stuff from not my profile, but it's so there's companies that are just like, for example, I'll make a fake company like Shill Army LLC, and they'll just like sit around and make fake accounts all day, and they'll make like a lot of them, and then when someone like Ken Griffin needs a bot army, which I'll tell you in a second, he'll just buy like 10,000, 100,000 accounts from this company. And so right now, bot farms, like we're talking about cybersecurity implications, they're not that developed yet, but they are developed enough for like uh, a company like Reddit, like on their platform. If sorry that just like glitched for a second. So if a company like Reddit, how it works is the communities you can go upvote or downvote posts, and it'll like if it gets a lot of downvotes, it'll kind of become irrelevant and stop getting shown to people. But if it gets a lot of upvotes, it'll get more relevant and shown to more people. And it's like really good for filtering like good and bad content and like what people care about and stuff. But then someone like Ken Griffin can just buy like 100,000 accounts that are fake, and then when someone goes on Reddit and posts like GME, oh GME's good, and it gets like 500 likes, well they'll just like get like 100,000 fake accounts to downvote it, so it becomes irrelevant and stops getting shown before like anything else can even happen, and so uh, it becomes part of like a tool to keep a narrative going if it's used in a bad way. So you can see shill armies like all over the internet. Like, if you go look up Apple, it's going to be a lot of video, like facts about the company and like their history. But if you look up GameStop, it's just a bunch of non-credible news articles, in my opinion, and they're just all bashing GameStop. So you can't Google GameStop and find good info. It's all like why this company sucks and like how much this company sucks and why it will suck forever. And it's just like, dude, who's writing these? It just narratives are falling apart. Like all of these narratives are falling apart. But we'll keep moving forward. So big pharma, I've already kind of connected those through here. Pfizer, Moderna, J&J. Yeah, so COVID-19. Actually, I might have already done this, but see where COVID pops up. Oh, no, it's going to pop up later. So that's why. So yeah, big pharma history here. I'll get to it, so I won't cover it now. But um, uh, yeah, it's part of like the WHO and the FDA like ran all the policy while COVID was being formed. So I don't think we've heard the last of these organizations as like this narrative continues, and it's continuing still. Like these companies are still trading, and uh, so I'll tell you some more stuff that it's pouring into. But a lot of this comes back to like perverted science and principles. We don't need that kind of stuff, but we're dealing with it. Okay, so food supply. That one's big. I'll get back to it in a second with water here. Make sure your water's safe. Make sure you know you're getting like safe water and you know what like spring water is and filtered water is. And like if you read your water label and it's got 20 chemicals on it, that's not water. And weapons. So yes, I do cover like some of the associated weapons here, but also blue roofs, direct energy weapons. So that has to do with like Hawaii. Pretty much anyone who painted their roof blue, their house did not burn down. So insiders knew this ahead of time and painted their roofs blue. And then they had satellite weaponry light the rest of the island on fire so the government could come in and buy all of that land, basically forcing everyone out. But um, that's not quite big pharma narrative anymore. That gets like down here into war. So we'll get there. I covered war a little bit when we were talking about seller boxing and some of these companies, but it's in the key agendas and narratives because war is implied by like a lot of these things, like some of the policy and taxes, problematic incentives. Like this is what the type of stuff people go to war for. So like pretty much this is all like World War III we're looking at in like one place, uh, give or take like whatever I'm missing from here. But um, so food supply and water. We're gonna come down here. So none of this stuff should be in your food. Lead, mercury, arsenic. There's more chemicals, but these ones have just been like publicized. It's happening too often. I didn't put the ones on here that I don't even know how to say. So like, there's a lot of them. There's over 5,000 chemicals in one cigarette. And before it's a cigarette, there's no chemicals in tobacco leaves like that. So it's like, it's all added stuff. And like a lot of this stuff is banned in most countries. It's just like the cross-border order routing all over again, but with food. And they just like get away with whatever, wherever. As long as they can pay for it. So we got experimental animal testing here, like farm animals and stuff. So yeah, Trump did a good thing. He put a legislation like making it a felony for like not treating animals good, which I think is like the best thing that could happen for animals because this would have been way out of hand by now. And looking for farm animals, right? Okay, so the stem cells, they're growing brains that they use as like batteries now from stem cells from aborted babies. And it's just nuts because like, well, the technology could be good. Like stem cells might help us like gain, and like all this vaccination campaigns might increase our virology capacity a little bit. It's like we're sacrificing way too much to learn a small amount with, and plus like the morality stuff. So like bad news here, in my opinion. Farm animals. So when I was in school, they shoved the Louisiana Purchase down my throat, and like for valuation of land, we got a really good deal on that land for how much it was. Even if you translate those figures to today, it's still a good deal. And then you'll see someone like Bill Gates going and buying land now behind like a collateral inflation house market narrative bubble, and the media won't even talk about that. And then they're using that farmland to run like Bill Gates kind of like fake food companies. Like, okay, well, okay, look, but like in the follow the cabal and kind of cover like you know how they do mRNA? They have like GMO modification. I don't know, it's like the same thing they're doing with food. So like basically they'll put like so much pesticides in tomatoes, and then they still want to be big and red, so they'll inject them with steroids, and now you're eating steroid pesticides, and it's not even a tomato, but it's like 4 times bigger than a tomato ever was. And like then they just market it that way, and then if they get in trouble, it's a fine for crime. It doesn't matter how many people die eating these poison tomatoes. So in the terms and conditions, they'll write out their own liability. So they're like, oh, you ate the tomato. It's your fault. Yeah. Not buying it. Make sure your food's coming from healthy sources. It's going to get worse as like trains continue to get derailed and like grain mills continue to blow up. Like don't even get me started about Beirut and government neglect, which caused literally they kept illegally storing fertilizer in one place more and more and more, literally building a bomb. It was a fertilizer nuclear weapon, and it leveled the city of Beirut a few years ago. Like, they, dude, they spray painted, like, our government did this to us, like, all over their whole already destroyed city. Like, and then the media just, like, left that city because, like, oh, like, we can't film this anymore because, like, they spray painted all over shit. It's like, when they did, like, earthquakes over in Haiti, rescue effort teams just went in and abducted all the kids and sold them in the black market. So like, dude, rescue efforts, like, are you kidding me? Dude, we need to be looking into like FEMA, Red Cross, like, dude, insurance. It's just a big fraud. Uh, where did yeah, I have it right here. Insurance and corporate greed under civil rights factors undermined. It's absolute crap. And then inflation. So like, dude, now this year, 2024, we're seeing companies like insurance companies just like, oh, your insurance went up 50%. Why? Because we're the fucking insurance company. And it's like, okay, well, how is that sustainable? It's the same thing as like restaurants jacking their prices up, and then inflation 3% though. So when inflation actually hits, what is all these companies gonna do? They're gonna double their prices again? Well, millennials have like not even 2% money anymore, but like 1% because rent keep coming. Like, no, it just nothing makes sense. It already we're drowning, so it's just how long till this falls apart. I think we're gonna maybe make it to an election or not. Like it could barely get that far. I don't even. It just this whole GameStop options gamma rant looking to pop before then, and like I don't know what they're gonna do. They don't have a way out. They were just gonna control this into their own crime, and it just now, I, the internet really escalated a lot of this, and then they were like, all right, we're all in, and then no one ever expect a bunch of people to just come buy these companies so that they couldn't bankrupt them and take them. So now that they're going to lose everything since that didn't happen, so they had to like double down and create more wealth to like double down on it with that they don't already have. So it's like fake collateral pretty much at this point, but they just had the Fed, and they're just going to like print unlimited money into these guys' pockets now and just let it continue until there is a correction. And then, but while that's happening, they're trying to like buy votes so they can like stay in office and just like write their own rules to continue this more. Like they don't want it to get fixed. Okay, so we hit Big Pharma. War we covered. All right. Oh wait, make sure I just didn't miss anything down here. Yeah, produce, pesticides. Oh, okay, so eggs, short squeezes, the chocolate futures, orange juice. Like orange juice is crazy because uh, it's just these companies are getting driven out of business by inflation. So once one goes down, the workload spreads in the rest of the industry. So it's gonna inflate till it pops real quick. It's a squeeze. So what goes up must come down, and it's all these squeezes are unsustainable growth. What's gonna happen with this AMC GameStop MOAS? It's gonna end up not being a squeeze. It's gonna be more like a what the S&P 500 looks like, where it just went up forever and then now it's just high and it just stays high because like we're not selling GameStop. And then say it does hit really high shares, like $1,000, right? Well, if it hits $1,000, I might sell like 10, and all of us are just holding like thousands. Like, dude, we're not gonna just get rid of these, and then we're gonna hit dividend land, and we're never gonna sell one. Like, it's just gonna be for it. Berkshire Hathaway is gonna trade places with these companies, and it's because now the nature of the company. Berkshire Hathaway sold his soul and was like, yes, I'll participate in a market where I just rig everything and there's no fundamentals. So once a true fundamental came along, Berkshire's on the wrong side. Like, it's over. They can't reposition because it's over. They tried to reposition yesterday and it might have bought them a month. I don't know. We're looking at swap rollovers on June 21st, which is in just two or so weeks here. And yes, it's 1:31 a.m. Yes, this is part 4 of the video. I have just been going for like 8 hours straight. If you look at the timestamps on the other videos, you're going to see it's just like I've just been going. So shooting this whole video in one day, the whole entire movie. It's got to get done though. So that's what I want to just cover out of this section here. Moving forward, central bank digital currencies. So I did talk about this a little bit up here. So we already covered these relations to CBDCs. So let's just go down this line and see what we got left. Social credit scores. I did talk about that. NFTs. I've talked about NFTs where they're related to collateral, mirror stocks, tokenization. It's like them trying to like let their risk drop out of the market and reestablish fundamentals with a new currency, so no one would ever see what happened, and then they just get to write off stealing a generations from people, and then millennials are just poor because that's the way it is, not because of fraud that was found. It will just go away. That's what they want, but no, we're finding it, and it's not going to just go away. So if it does just go away, like on paper or whatever, we're talking about like a civil war, like another layer of this revolution. So like I don't think it's gonna get there because like just we already did Black Lives Matter. It was like violence from the opposers against good people, and like good people aren't gonna step up and do violence, but like not being violent isn't working now. So that's why I was talking about earlier, like, man, prison for life, no trading ever again for these people that are getting busted. Minimum. So they're going to they already have a social credit score system, and there's a lot of things happening, like student loan debt. So Biden's kind of going in and selectively eliminating some. He promised a lot and then just keeps revoking it and promising again and revoking it, like 20 grand off student debt. But like that is not a good solution because it's like a band-aid on the problem thing, because what we need to do is get school tuition under control and then probably wipe a lot of the recent debt that has just been so inflated where just the interest is going to end up being more than the debt. Like, just it's not fair to anybody, while that whole group has less than 2% of money circulating. It's only the young group. And so the alternative is like, so we're seeing people who have paid like 20 years on their student loans, but that was like when they had jobs and like fundamentals made more sense and the economy wasn't as tight. So it's like now it's every one little thing makes it a lot worse. And then we're not talking about like, oh, schools got inflated a little bit. Like there were students graduating with almost no debt because they could just go through it with a job and they would pay for it. And now you work full time and still owe what 50K when you're done for just like a bachelor degree. So if you continue your education, you're like running farther, faster down, taking loans. I mean, like unless you can already pay for it. So having already achieved a bachelor's, I'm not going to continue more education unless like I'm with a company where it's like I'm either getting compensated enough where it's worth it, or they pay for it, or like I've already way paid on my debt and like can buy a house because like it doesn't make sense. Like I went to college lately, right? So I started in 2023 and I graduated in 2029 or 20. No, I started. I'm sorry, I mixed that year up really bad. I was 23 years old when I started college, and I'm 30 now. But I graduated last year, so it took 6 years. But COVID happened. It took like an extra year. They turned my whole campus into like vaccination incentives. So it was crazy. They were trying to pay out people's tuitions who got the vaccine. If that wasn't a red flag, but I didn't do it. So I figured like I'll pay my debt. But then right when I graduate, it's like there's just way less jobs because the PPP loans just enfranchise companies to like be hiring, but never hire anyone. But as long as they are hiring, they're qualifying for the loans. So they just always are hiring, but they never hire. And now we just get mass layoffs everywhere. And it's like, on top of, I graduated college with debt, like looking for better opportunities. So then like, now it's like, oh, opportunities just way worse. And your debt's way worse. And there's no fix for it. So like, and I'm just speaking kind of like for, it's like, I'm doing all right. I know a good amount of like what's going on, but like, it's the how dumb is your average person, and I'm worried about the half under that. And it's like they don't deserve bad things just because they're misguided or whatever in this big propagated system that they have. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving forward. Yeah, we're looking at economic reset. That's kind of what I'm referencing here. Okay, so financial rapture. That's what they're calling this. It's like a Bible metaphor. Uh, yeah, I've read the Bible. I'm not like a religion guy, but like I know I've read enough to like know all the metaphors, and so I don't know. I kind of feel like Noah just like talking about all this stuff because Noah was like, "I'm building a boat. It's gonna rain," and everyone wrote him off until it flooded, and then he's already on the boat, and everyone else is drowned. So it's like that's the story, and it's like that's what GameStop is kind of like. We're building like what's gonna be safe here when everything else isn't, and it's hard to talk about because then a shill army gonna come shit all over anything I say before anyone can hear it. So it's not that Noah probably didn't try and tell people, but probably like there's a lot of forces working against him as far as like the metaphor goes. But uh, the big seven CBDCs. So okay, the big seven. I was talking about the S&P 500 and how like 493 companies aren't like worth anything, but then those top seven are just worth like everything, and it's getting worse because now we're seeing like struggles starting to appear in like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, while they just keep pumping Nvidia. So I think they're like moving all swap leverage into Nvidia so it can pop, and they'll just be like, oh, it was the AI bubble, while they like try and roll over obligations again. But it's like it's too interconnected now, and then like with the consolidated audit trail, and then with like DFE's call wall kind of eliminating some of these tools they can use per they're building the algorithms that manipulate this stuff, and all of a sudden they're going to need one of these that they can't use, and none of the other ones will plug in right where they need in the equation, and the whole equation is going to fall apart because they can't bullshit certain ways there are a finite number of ways they can bullshit, and they know it. So they have to be very discreet about it. And but the problem is where the market made that its base and then like started growing crime. Okay, so division, it's where your emotions are tested. So that's happening a lot with apes. You can see like the price went up for so GameStop, right? If you bought for $2 and it went to 500, you probably should have sold. No, but we knew what was happening, so it didn't make sense to sell. But then, now that they beat the price all the way down, anyone who doesn't know looks at the graph and it thinks, you should have sold. You're an idiot for not selling. And it's like, it's deeper than that because we know what we know, and then that won't even dawn on anybody until after the fact. They're gonna have to miss it and then regret it, and the lions will wake the lions. I have that right here, but the sheep will never wake up, and it's sad. But I'm a lion, so I'm not crying that much. So election deniers. Uh, they're running this narrative of division. This goes all the way to like Trump in court, to January 6th, to like election ballots in like all 50 states, and court cases just going to prolong to wherever, and then like there's a lot going on, but it's just still an open case. They're just like, leave it open and don't ask about it. So it's just kind of stuck right now while we don't have leadership. Streaming narratives. So that's a lot between like, if you look at like Cinemark, it's AMC's direct competitor, and then like Netflix. So why this narrative is so shitty is because AMC is doing all this awesome stuff I talked about, and then you have like Cinemark over here not doing any of it, no media recognition, less revenue, and then the stock price is like more though. Like at any moment, give or take, they always pump it higher, and then they're like, Cinemark is what an actual movie theater company should look like. Dude, the news is just so freaking dumb. And then they'll make that worse because then you have like Netflix, and they're gonna pump streaming narrative, and dude, Netflix got pumped up to like $800 a share, so like it was like almost one of the big seven, so it got like massive market cap, price times shares down here, and then it's like Netflix revenue wasn't as big as like some of the other ones, and then also like look at like the business fundamentals. So like when COVID happened, Netflix claimed like, oh, everyone's switching to streaming, we're the best, and that, but then it's like. And then what they did is add more commercials, like deal with a writer's strike, like they're getting like horrible ratings because like lots of their movies now that they're making on their own are getting slandered because it's paid for by like this group, the blackmail crime pedophilia group. And then they're like increasing the price of their memberships. They're restricting their people who are members, like, oh, you can't share your account anymore. And it's like, it's just making people not want to use it more and more. And now Disney Plus coming out, like, we're just going to go watch movies over there. It's like Hulu and commitment. We don't need Netflix and chill anymore. So, there's multiple angles to the streaming narrative, but they're all bad and they don't hold any ground. So, I mean, AMC does streaming too, also, so they have this company called AMC Network, and then like they'll have like lots of FUD articles trying to dilute it. It's just so like if someone goes looks up AMC, and it'll pull up AMC Network, and then they'll see different data than they heard about. So it's just like another way they can just like not find out what's going on. And not that AMC Network shouldn't exist, but like AMC might want to look into a lawsuit there because it's like it's affecting their business. That's like if the band name Metallica, for example, and then I name my band Metallica 2. Like, I'll probably get sued by Metallica. You know what I mean? Just like, I'll digress here, though. Okay, we were on division. Yeah, the different narratives, right versus left, men versus women, black versus white. It's really rich versus poor, and that's the only battle we need to worry about. Any other divisive device that they'll put out, whatever group versus whatever group. Yeah, I did elephants versus donkeys over here. There was no bears and bulls. Here, any division of narrative supports division being acceptable as a narrative somewhere. So we need to unite. And I think we're going to do that this election because it just like if you consider Trump and Biden polar opposites, now the polls are just so far from each other. Not even like one person can relate to either of them. So we're just going to like all regroup in the middle type. And it's just, it's part of the cycles of humanity that happens. So I did connect the Electoral College over here earlier with the gerrymandering. Yeah, division. That's a yellow word too. So I just there's a lot that connects here. Uh, Miscommunications. So that's kind of just like misinformation. But it goes like with division and crime. So I kind of like have these grouped. And so conspiracies. We've kind of talked about like a lot of the important ones, give or take here a little bit. Yeah, float ownership. So I think I covered that one earlier. Yeah, we were talking about float ownership and how they like misinform on a lot of those things. So unenforced rules. So that's miscommunication. So it's like fines for crimes. So it's like the undermining, like the propaganda ban that was just in the last like 15 years. It's been illegal forever, and then all of a sudden, whatever current administration just thinks they're better than others, so they're just gonna not enforce that, and they're gonna go as far as to like repeal it. And not all rules are uh, repealed that are unenforced. There's some rules that are active and they're just not enforced. And that is going to be here in the blackmail crime box, and you can go look at like planet officials, the packs, and this is how they get away with that stuff. And um, I think that covers like miscommunication stuff. I did cover gaslighting and fact checkers in a plugged them in a couple places up here, but yeah, definite miscommunication. If not more, if not like part of the fact checker thing, that might go down as like part of the big pharma, like the crime, money laundering. Uh, let's see, I could peg it the right way. Fact checking. That's going to be free speech undermined. They're weaponizing the democratization addiction. So there's a lot to that. A crime pays. So we did link to this a lot. Let's see what else is still on the line. So yeah, we got inverted algorithms. So I crossed a couple lines here. We got, yeah, stock splits, inverted algorithms, and I think those are the only ones, but and I linked them with swaps right here, and it's because of the like I was talking about different leverages in here with inverted algorithms, like specifically when I briefly talked about like that one picture of the Volkswagen graph turned upside down, and then it showed like some similar moves. It had the swap shape just like AMC, but then it spiked and then it showed a pattern afterwards, and AMC's just went from swap straight to the pattern with no spike. Where that spike would have happened with Volkswagen, where a bailout happened, did not happen with AMC, and then they had to climb a whole nother derivative layer to get us where we are today, which now is awesome because all the like technicals, like the MACD, like the moving averages are all really low now. So we bumped up just a little bit lately with GameStop's news, and then we broke through like some of these resistances already. So now it's going to be like kind of easy for us to go up. And so all we need is like a good news, and then like it's going to spur like one whale to buy enough stock to over leverage everyone's collateral, and the whole bad side just falls apart. And that's happened already several times. That's why like when you see the GameStop movement going down, it'll just like spike up and then keep going down, and then spike up and keep going down. And every time it spikes up, they have to like halt the market and shut it down and do a bunch of shit and re-establish collateral or post more collateral or double down on their positions, or and it's just like all this over and over and over until it was like one crime turned into three different crimes, and then it turned into three different crimes twice, and then it turned into four, and then turned into four times each, and now they're just this deep in like two. They have 19 leverage instruments of layers to be fucking around in, and 10 different narratives to hide that bullshit in. So Plus, there's more down here. I'll get to it. This section down here, okay, like these three, I didn't have them placed, so I just put them at the end. But I can still appropriately plug them in. But they would maybe be actually in leverage instruments. But it's okay. I just put it down here with other. And these have their own section that we're going to get to. And then this is just like additional information. But we're on crime pays. Yeah, that's how like the inverted algorithms kind of like link some of this stuff and like have exposed swaps is this far. So where we would even like all get behind a cat system, and then now we're all behind a cat system, and it's like go. So it took like a lot of development to like start to beat some of these narratives right here using this. But this is what traders are doing now. These are the tools, and then we don't have to hide our stuff in here though, because we're not actually committing crimes. So that's like a lot of loopholes we don't have to worry about. And then we find out they exist, and like, wow, the only reason that would exist is crime. So like, we need to get back to just like these derivative instruments, but like without this, so we can like have a fair market. But then also, anywhere I pretty much have like a colored word, we need to like go clear that up. So like, there is just so much work to do, and okay, we're going to continue running through this. So with the inverted algorithms, that's why you'll just see like all these news ads or just like ass backwards. Like all of reality is almost backwards now. Like the economy's as strong as ever, but we got mass layoffs. You got like GameStop, the worst company ever, and it's ripping the hardest. And you got Berkshire Hathaway, who's not bankrupt, but their stock just like touched zero the other week, and it just everything's going to be backwards until it's not, because like they had to invert the algorithm, and that's where that stock split. It should have probably squeezed right there, but then they had to like inverse it, so it just goes down times 10 instead. That's why I went from 40 to 4 instead of 40 to 400 on the reverse split for AMC, because it should have went the other way, and like once this algorithm flips back, not only is that going to correct, but then all the shit they owe is going to come due, and like all the other derivative layers here are going to correct. That's why this price is going to, the 2 to the power of 6 was not a joke. Like, that is what they're looking at and trying to deleverage. So like, if people paper hand, they might be able to get enough shares and cover at like 2 to the power of 5. I doubt it though, because like once the shares get that high, we're not going to sell our whole position at that high. We're just going to sell like 2 shares because we're waiting for dividends. And the 2 shares are going to be worth like 10 grand each. So we're set for like 5 years now. And they can like inflate the poor people all they want. We just hold this and squeeze them harder. And it's not that that's ideal, but like they did this. They set this up. So we're just fixing it. And that's what it looks like. So I think our generation though is going to do a lot of good with what happens. So like I'm super excited and optimistic for the future. It's just getting there that sucks right now. Yeah, up is down, good is bad, etc. Okay, monopolies fall here. Crime pays. They're all working together. The best example probably like if you can get a partnership with Amazon, you're part of the Amazon monopoly, which Amazon should just be disbanded basically at this point. Not that the service is meaningless, but dude, one Amazon could get disbanded and everyone in that company would be okay. And then they could start 100 different companies that focus on like specific parts of Amazon. It would strengthen every sector that's going on. It's just like Amazon wouldn't be willing to do that. So that won't definitely happen until like it's forced. And then like it's kind of like how Germany wasn't willing to give up World War II until they were forced. Or it's like it's always going to have to be forced. So like margin calling going to happen until it's forced, because hedgies are going to do everything they can to just like stab it off with all this stuff and pay whoever and like buy political candidates and like try and use their money to run for offices, and just until it breaks, and it's breaking. Monopolies, bad news. That goes also straight here into like undermine and probably like super PACs and lobbying. That I'm sure I missed a lot here where it talks directly about monopolies, and then it's been undermined somehow. And I just didn't have room to include all this stuff, but I know like I have a pretty good knowledge of laws, and I know monopolies are like not cool. And it's like something that only become like accepted more recently, like where propaganda is revealed and super PACs are allowed all of a sudden. Because like now you can ask someone and like, hey, your super PAC's illegal, and they're just like, nope. And it's like, well, neither is a monopoly, but it's like, well, it was at one point, and it is some places. Like, what is going on? So another crime pays. Red Shoe Club. So I won't get into that. It's pretty violent. It has to do with the Vatican and them maintaining control, and they would be within this yellow black line right here too. The yellow, red, and black. Pedophilia, blackmail, crime. So, all right, let's see here. There was something I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, you know what? It was that gun, but we didn't get to it yet. That's why. We're getting there. So crime pays, we got it. We covered those. Terror, fear, violence. We were here earlier. Yeah, we talked about all these. Yeah, bridge collapses, train derailments, ever given supply chain issues, shootings, legalities. It had to do with like a lot of how this is set up, and then how they're connected to like some of these other uh, areas. So this I didn't have any notes on. It was just I had a convenient empty space here, and it was relevant. So I was gonna put it over with this stuff, but I could probably fit like QAnon over here or something. But I don't need to update this anything anymore or this anymore. I got like all the important stuff on here. Stock splits we covered. I think we already hit this whole line when we talked about arbitrage. But yeah, that Citigroup stock split I showed in my DD earlier here. Uh, that is indicative of like a lot of the other stock splits, as like that money got moved to certain places in the market, and then it would overwhelm certain places, so it splits again and then moves around splits until now it's calm. But you're seeing that shape up here in like AMC and GameStop now, so the water's like not about to be calm. And I think a lot of the original shorting against GameStop and uh, AMC came out of this Citigroup stock split, probably in other places though, like Melvin Capital. But the problem is with like brokerage collusion. If Melvin Capital was doing it, everyone's doing it. So it's like that was the name of the game. And then like now it's just that was in 2021 we found that out, and then 3 years later, it's just still they're in denial of the whole thing while everything's on fire around them. So like that is definitely what appears to be going on, unfortunately. So we'll see how that develops, but I'm thinking UBS next. We're going to see an event here or directly with GameStop and AMC or the swaps. So we're either going to see these move up, this implode, or some of these explode and implode as they try and swap this thing. But we're talking about like so I can talk about which one of these? So means like the geometric mean and max pain. So max pain with options, uh, it's just more and more likely that these won't leverage them enough any longer, or they're gonna have to just hit higher and higher percent. It's gonna be like infinity percent every time until it's just like ludicrous. And then so it's more and more likely that these move or UBS collapses. So like this one's getting less and less likely. Oh, I have Schwab here highlighted with the fines for crimes brokerage collusion. I was looking for that one earlier. Yeah, so Schwab, uh, they're really bad at it. Go look at how many fines that company's paid off. But brokerage collusion, and then like Schwab is also involved in like the Credit Suisse looking at UBS situation. So I think Schwab is like overseeing swaps that are related to the ones UBS is holding. So UBS is holding the most toxic ones. That's about to collapse. Then it's going to hit a bunch of other ETFs, and I think Schwab is like in that area. So after UBS, we'll see what happens and which players on this map are involved, and then we'll be able to figure out who gets plugged in next. If they're like certain word colors on this map, we already know where they're coming from. Like if I mean, I wouldn't be surprised however this map develops into the future, but a lot of what's already been done won't be repeated. So we're looking for like new stuff, and like I said, it's a finite number of things they can screw with here. So eventually this map will just fill up and be 100% complete and they won't have another room. And I got it as full as I could here. Uh yeah, I don't even know where I would put QAnon over here if I did, but that's like the only thing I can think of that I don't have. But anyway, someone recommended I title my video with that, but I talked about that in the first one, QAnon for business bros. It was a comment on Reddit. I thought it was hilarious because I do feel like that a little bit. Okay, so yeah, we covered stock splits here. Warehouse fires. So we covered that a little bit, but we'll go through the line and see what we missed. I don't know if y'all saw, but last week a JP Morgan Chase Bank exploded in the middle of the city. Like what city was it? I'm just gonna type JPM exploding. Oh yeah, it was Ohio, right in Youngstown, Ohio, 5 days ago. Images. Oh yeah, of course it's not on here. Uh-huh. Oh, I bet it's on those articles. Good job, Google results. 6 days and JPM exploding pulls up like hand lotion and shit. It's great. Yeah. Robinhood's a 5-star company though. Sorry, my sarcasm's just out of control. Sorry, I don't want to watch this video, and I'm actually not gonna watch this video while the stream is going. Sorry, I can't click that right there. I was telling you I have a my pause button for recordings right there, and I can't move it. So let's try. Oh yeah, it was a natural gas explosion or whatever. But yeah, sure, they're gonna just like the Bartlett warehouse fire was like a sprinkler. Sprinkler burnt that warehouse down. And dude, this just gives me the same vibes as like this whole line right here. Bridge collapses, train derailments, ever given supply chain shootings, legality. It's just none of this should be happening. This is nuts. I don't care about any of this. I just want to find like one image of the. Oh yeah, look, you can just see this whole bank freaking blown out. There was a better one. It showed it like the hole in the ground, and it's scary to look at. But gosh, dude. All right, it has to be on images. Like, there's no freaking way it's not. It might be like down here if it's like newer. Oh my goodness. I can't believe how bad the search results are for this. And I found it the other day, so it's like they're changing it or whatever to like avocados instead. That's one of Bill Gates' key products, by the way. Gavi avocados, watch out for those. Or even he has other charities too. It's nuts. The Gates Foundation, JPM exploding in Ohio. Images. Yeah, it looks like that building. Okay. I don't want I want to make sure I show you the right one and not just a random building exploded. Oh my goodness, Google, you suck. I'm using a different search engine. Oh my gosh, if it pulls up, DuckDuckGo browser. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I don't think I have it downloaded. Let me just. Do I have Safari on here? Oh, I do. Okay, let's just get off of Chrome for a second to try and search this. Ohio Bank JPM explosion images. Um, yeah, it looks like this one. Might not be. I don't think it's that one. But you can see like into the ground like that in this one picture I'm looking for, but I'm actually shocked that I can't find it because I that was the picture they put on the media everywhere. Oh, so I don't know if y'all saw what this was. So this was like Ohio's chemical explosion. Oh my God, I forgot that happened in Ohio too. So, Ohio chemical explosion date. Let me just see when that happened because, yeah, a chemical explosion happened and it looked like this. It was so crazy. The train derailment thing. When did that happen? Oh, I'm still searching on images. February 2023. Okay, also, while we're looking at this kind of stuff, I don't condone violence or anything, but if you didn't see this fertilizer bomb go off in the middle of Beirut, it's absolutely terrible. And it leveled their whole city. Dude, it's so big. Yeah, just like watch the video. It looks like a nuclear bomb. Like it was so horrible. I'm not gonna look for that one picture anymore that I couldn't find because we're wasting too much time doing that. Get rid of all these things that are making me lag. Perfect. Okay. Sorry I couldn't find the one picture, but you get the idea. JPM exploded in Ohio just this week, and I didn't even put the Barlett warehouse on here, but I put warehouse fires because it's like warehouse. So we got, yeah, that's like a form of book burning, a narrative targets. I mean, you could almost put 9/11 here. 9/11 wasn't just like, oh, let's blow up some buildings in a city. It was like the World Trade Center. So definitely a narrative target, and it's definitely got some agendas that plug into it. So it's not good news. Data mining, that's also over here in like terms and conditions and cookies, part of like broader control, security issues. Let's see where I highlight security. I highlight it 2 times, also in inflation with blockchain. Okay, so there can be more security depth of violations than that. It's just like if companies that are burning down warehouses have your data, that doesn't sound secure to me. And we talked about how the blockchain could potentially be undermined with increasing technology. Um, we talked about those weapons. Okay, so we're on CEO suicides and murders. Okay, so this happens in banks, like way too often. So I've fonted banks a certain way. Let's see where I have banks also linking. Oh, you know what? They're over here in the institutional hierarchy. So CEOs and murders in banks happen on all in the upper level. They do not happen in the poor level down here. It's going to be sub-international banks or national banks, CEOs, hedge funds, regional banks. And, oh, let me get rid of, oh my goodness. So Bed Bath and Beyond. I've highlighted that one here. Also, I've highlighted that one gray because we saw the swap shape, and I've highlighted swaps in there, and that was the one I was going to use as an example, but I did show you earlier in one of the other videos. So yeah, Bed Bath and Beyond. Forgot when their CEO committed suicide, but it was right when the Ryan Cohen offering thing was going down. September 2022, an apparent suicide. An apparent suicide. It was ruled as a suicide. Anyway, he was like wealthy and set, and then he decided to jump off his own skyscraper. So like where he had like an apartment on a like a high rise. He decided it was done. He was done. Don't look into that though, or question it, or look into other people who were murdered. And also, it won't have anything to do with Hillary Clinton's list, so don't look there. That might have been sarcasm. So, yeah, whistleblowers fall here. Whistleblowers commit suicide all the time. It's like once you tell on someone, you can't live with yourself. Celebrities, if you're famous, yeah, you definitely kill yourself. Okay, I'm talking about specific celebrities though. Like it does happen, but I'm talking about like Robin Williams, who was like actively preaching about not killing himself, or like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park working on a documentary about pedophilia, and then he just kills himself instead while he's touring, saying he's not suicidal. And then like another band member from Soundgarden, that lead vocalist was also killed. Chris Cornell, I think. Uh, let's see when he died. Oh, I just totally butchered that, but I pulled it up anyway. So you know what this is, Google, but you can't pull up J.P. Morgan Chase Bank exploding. It's just nuts. Yeah. So look, he's even here with. Oh yeah, no, that is Chris Cornell. I was about to say with Chris Cornell, but so uh, even like Nirvana's lead singer, Michael Jackson. If you don't know, like the security for Michael Jackson was like an untrained, non-professional who had a history of already being blackmail crime. So it's like, how do you get that job? And it was like a new security guard that was like in charge of like administering Michael's meds, and he probably over administered while he was sleeping because he was paid to do it here. And it's just I saw a video talking about that one. I think it was like a Ian Carroll one, but that shouldn't be a thing anyone talks about. Like I don't know, Prince, Elvis, just like super big suicides. Maybe the dude from Friends, Chandler Bing. His real name skips my mind right at this moment, but I'll remember it. Uh, yeah, I like grew up on like that kind of show and those actors. So seeing them in like other stuff now, it's almost like surreal. But so there's more suicides than I just mentioned, but it's just like I shouldn't have even been able to just already mention that many. So yeah, we got like assassination in this category. Some previous presidents have been assassinated. The only two, JFK and Lincoln. So they were arguably like better of the presidents too. So if the worst presidents ever just get to walk away, but if you're good, they'll kill you. So I don't know. I think if like a Trump would be the most likely candidate. Like look what they're trying to do with security. They're Epstein him, but I don't think they will get away with that. There's no way. He just has like there's too many people watching, and then the irregularities haven't been proven yet. Like the voting and like mail-in voting and the election fraud deniers stuff I was talking about. It's just still all on the table. Like none of it's close. So they can't just like they're like let's sentence him to death before we figure out what happened. And it's like that's not how you do things anywhere ever. So undermined stuff over here. Undermined again. Vaccination campaign, dude, that's like broader than CEO suicides and murders for sure. The borderline genocide, I connected it to bubbles, but I'm not going to take that any farther in this document because that's still developing too. As are a lot of these bubbles, like the .com bubble popped, so I labeled it up here, but all these are still going in some way or another. Like raw materials might include like stuff like food, cause it's just like stuff you would buy at a store almost, but really specifically related to housing because that's a whole bubble. And then any clean energy materials, like that's why nickel squeeze because they use it for like car batteries and stuff, and like microchips and circuitry. But a lot of precious metals. That's why like copper and uh, uh, a lot of the metals will like hold good values. So not that gold isn't the best or worst, but it's like they tether gold because of its rarity. But they probably could tether a fiat to like one of the other precious metals, and it would withhold a good value. It's just, and not even that I think gold's the best. I really think the best case scenario would be combining like all of these things, like blockchain, a precious metal, and a regulatory body. So and then you can even have like regulatory bodies that regulate that one, but really we want less regulatory bodies. That way, when the one's not doing its job, we can vote it out instead of like one having 10 backups, having 10 backups, and we have to vote 10 backups out to vote 10 backups out to vote 10 backups out to vote the original one out. It's like that's how it gets diluted. So we really want to keep government simple. Like we need to get their hands out all this stuff, but first we need banks out of all this stuff because and only government can take the banks out of it. That's why it's like, man, we need them to take it out right away so they can get out. And then everyone can live like a normal life that they should, and that should and could happen in every country. Um, And with the internet, this is probably the best chance humanity has at it because globalization, right? I told you what I think it means, but they'll skew it today. But if everyone's going to work together and prosper, that's what it means. Prosper. So we need more of that. That's all I'm saying. Historical. So yeah, I highlighted government here and influence on policy because yeah, now we can jump into some of this stuff. People, historical people. I could name a bunch of people, but we'll keep it like with what we've covered so far. Historical court cases. Um, I had that over here because yeah, we're just seeing like increased number of court cases based on increased evil, and not the increased evil, but you can see like as like something like the border open, we're having massive crime increases here, which is like crime is evil for the most part, except for like the few laws that actually probably should be reworked or like they just don't apply anymore. It's like some laws can become outdated as technology comes, and like that's where we should have lawmakers and legislation come and make the difference. But then they'll see an opportunity like that and they'll be like, let me come make the difference. And then they just write, yes, here's the policy that makes the difference. And one clause in here, oh, I pocket $100 billion. And it's like, it's just that small of a thing and it'll just screw everything up. And then they create a whole web of lies to try and hide it. And then everything just compounds and compounds until it compounds back up and blows up the lie again. And maybe like small lies can get taken to the grave, but okay, look, we're talking about like the cat system and then like public ledgers and like blue sheets. Like I remember when GameStop first blipped from $200 to $500, and then Bank of America was saying like, "Hey, we need 75 years to figure this out." And it's like 75 years? I'm gonna be dead. Like, screw that. Face the piper. I don't know what to say. It's just seeing that blew my freaking mind. And then sure enough, we get like the policy after policy that doesn't make sense, and it's looking like they're trying to make it last 75 years. Like they want GameStop to just declare bankruptcy and then the 75 years just goes away. But that's not going to happen. So anyway, June 21st, we're looking at pretty excited. I know I've said that date a lot, and we're not doing dates. So maybe that happens and nothing happens because they're able to like super leverage with these somehow. But if they kick the can into the future, there is another date that this is just going to be on. And that's why we don't do dates and why MOAS is always tomorrow until it's yesterday. Because they're going to mess it until they can't. And then when they can, it's over. Events. Okay, so 9/11, I covered that. Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, but so maybe there was more to that. I've watched a lot of footage of it, but like with airplanes flying into buildings and the additional weight plus that burning plus like if they explode and then it actually collapses and the weight at the top falls down. You can't do the jet fuel melt steel beams theory on its own. Like if there's other evidence maybe, which like you can look at like airline companies, their stocks did pretty bad, and I bet insiders shorted it before that happened. And then that's when like Ukraine money laundering started too. So it's like a whole bunch of money's made, and then Ukraine just starts getting money laundered to it, and then that will connect a whole bunch of like this other stuff I talked about over here. But it's like, okay, so now if we're just flying planes over to Ukraine for however long, dude, why is Ukraine broke? Like, why is the whole narrative about Ukraine and why? Dude, they're hating on Russia and Putin just as hard as they hated on Trump. I think Trump would have exposed it and they got a lid on it. And then now Russia's going to look for it over in Ukraine. And so they're just going to make Putin look like the worst kind of a person. But he's actually probably one of the only leaders left who's like, all right, I'm like powerful, so I'm going to do what I'm doing. But like, he's pro-Russia. But he's really not like anti-globalization, and it's not that he wants to just selfishly take over land around him. It's like, dude, they're going to dig up some shit in Ukraine and it's going to lead back to the United States. The United States doesn't want that. So we're going to have an excuse to go over there and start shit. And they're propagating a war narrative. Like, that's what's going on. And it's being funded and what's been being funded while they just induce mass poverty here and leave the border open and let all the criminals come here. And when they start rounding everyone up for their own good here, because they finally locked this country down and only the dumb people are left who didn't like get on this and then get out, they're going to be stuck in a real problem. And then who's going to come save them this time? So, not that I want to see that happen. I'm putting this content out to like do my part of like preventing this, but man, it takes you guys watching all this too. So like, man, if you get this far, I'm happy for you. And you have made it to just about the end of this movie. I got just this to get through. Let's do it. Titanics. So yeah, the submarine, the Titanic. It's almost like history repeating, but y'all see the submarine one. One of their dads is going looking for like he's gonna go down there to prove. He's like, oh, submarines are safe now. I don't know. It just seems silly to me. It's like clout, but so the original Titanic, like 100 years ago, right? Well, back then we didn't have our like women's movement, uh, like diversity, like the Bill of Rights was like still being like turned into the 27 amendments that it is today. And so back then it was like mostly the like rich white guys, like at least in this country. So when the Titanic was like narrative set up, so basically the top 1,000 bankers, wealthy, were like invited on this thing with their families, and then on the day of, the top 10 bail. So number like bankers rank wealth number 11 through 1,000 go on this thing with their families, and then when it crashes, like their families can get saved, but there's not enough lifeboats for them. So literally all of banking competition was eliminated, and the top 10 that bailed, you can go look at their family lineages, and it's literally like Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Like, dude, it's just all the big banks. It's the top 10 banks today. Move their money to somewhere else where they get to just still have all their money. It's that same thing that Ken Griffin's trying to do right now by like buying properties and like I don't know, like getting like backdoor government bailout insurance. I don't even know what they call it once you get up to that level because it's for insiders only, but it's just none of it's good. None of it's good. We covered COVID-19, part of history now. Might still develop. The guinea pig phase ended or whatever, but we don't know. It's part of Agenda 2030. So I didn't put it on that line, but it's in Big Pharma, which is like real similar. 2008, yeah, that's part of history now. World War One and Two plus, yeah, we can go farther back. Civil War. Land. I talked about like some of the like Bill Gates relations over here with like him buying land and stuff. But yeah, historical prices of land, like countries, like how the land is gerrymandered, like how countries are divided, like who's the most prominent landowner out of like this group? Is it corporations or working class or governments? And like that changes all over time. So you can just look at history and see like what's kind of went down when. And then you can kind of see the scope of all this. And you can imagine during that time of history, someone could make one of these for that time too, and it would have like all some similar stuff, probably a lot of different stuff for that specific historical period. But this is like the World War III 2024 version or whatever. I don't know how to call this. I called it the map on that on my Reddit, but then in this video it's just the taking the Plunge movie. But money, history of money. Uh, so just since COVID, money kind of did what AMC's reverse split did and like got a lot less really quick. So from all the time, so the US dollar, I did that in a DD, but see if I can pull it up real quick since it's faster than now here my Reddit. USD of all time. Um, Not good. I cannot find what I'm looking for. Dude, Google is like shitting on me right now. We're going to Reddit. I know where it is. That's why. So we'll pull this one up. It's in this one. Okay, so I do cover like a kind of a lot of that topic, land and gold and stuff here. Oh yeah, this. Okay, so look, purchasing power. This is just since 1920. But you can see it just goes down. It looks like the AMC graph. Because they just beat it down forever as they just overprint it. And so this is all the time. So this right here is only from here to here, like from 1920 up. So right here is that. So if you zoom out on this, it was way higher right here. Look, $1 was worth $80 back then. And then now $1 went back to $1 and less than $1 now. And then COVID, it actually just dropped down here. So it's like the US dollar is worth nothing. Like it is worth nothing. Tulip mania. That is okay, so tulip mania. You can look at the Wikipedia, but long story short, yeah, it was in about 1600. So pretty much farmers were able to squeeze the price of tulip seeds. So one tulip seed would go for like $200,000 at the time just because, and it had to do with short bets against the company that was dealing tulips. It had nothing to do with tulips should ever be 200K for a flower, but it was a market correction. It was their MOAS. So yes, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity because nothing like this will happen for at least 80 years. But it's going to take a culmination of several 80-year corrections to like lead to the another big correction. We're talking about like a once a millennium type thing. So it was only 500 years since the last one or so, 400-ish. But we got like lucky on the rate. I would say like it might take longer than that for something like this to happen again because now we have the internet and this one will be way more documented and they can go back and book burn it as much as they want, but the technology is a lot better now. Electricity wasn't even invented when the tulip mania happened, so we are like way more advanced. The next time this could happen, we'll probably be on other planets or in, I don't know how that far in the future can look. We can like see that far because there's the technology could come out tomorrow that determines my views would change. It'd be like you never know. So speculation only gets you so far. Those were important historical events I thought were listing that we didn't cover here. Some of these other ones could go in history, but I just placed in other categories. Power equals control. We covered this one already. So spoofing. We covered this one already too. Securities fraud. Okay, so additional stuff we have not talked to. Yeah, the DTCC committed securities fraud, for sure. And FINRA, for sure. And I've linked them with DTCC and SEC right here because it's very deep. So you can go look into FINRA fraud and like somehow how these details went, but exempt market makers is part of it. They just get to make the rules and they don't have to follow their own rules, but everyone else does have to follow their rules. This is where we have the obligations warehouse. That's where at FINRA. So they're just obligations. So if someone's obligated to pay a swap, they just put it here. So FINRA probably has like, so they have like the public sheets that we can see, but like blue sheets or whatever, or pink sheets. But those are just the public ones that are like the A book. There's like a B book that's dark, like the dark book that they don't publicize. And then that's where they're going to have all the obligations actually listed at FINRA. And I put securities fraud here because it's bunker time for these billionaires. That's what happens. They do securities fraud, go to the Bahamas, they see all this stuff, they get scared, they build private bunkers. We cover brokerages. So, let's see. I think I might have had a note for the end of this, but that is going to conclude me connecting current events. So, thank you guys for sticking through it. I'm sorry it turned into 4 parts. It was gonna be 3, but I can't actually believe it took me this long. We're on like hour number 8 for this whole movie, so to cover all of this, but I didn't want to miss anything. So that's gonna be it. And you should definitely subscribe to my YouTube. I'll be posting music content there in the future, or like if that development updates, I'll notify where that subscription is so you'll know. But that's where I'm gonna be working, and y'all can follow the music with me. And yeah, just lastly, I'll post some important links in the bottom and link all of this stuff together on YouTube when I post it, and I'm gonna share it like on Reddit and stuff, so we can get like some people looking at this. But good luck out there with your investing and your living your life, knowing all this stuff, and I wish you the best. You could definitely shoot me any questions. I'll talk about any of this stuff with you. I might have missed a few details. Leave a comment. We'll discuss it. But yeah, keep on keeping on, guys. Oh, I guess I got rid of my camera. I was going to say bye to y'all, but we can do that. I got to see you off. All right, guys. Yeah, thanks so much for watching with me. I've been up here. I had to turn the AC out because it got so cold. I've just been in this room for this whole time, shooting it straight. If you look at these timestamps, you're going to see when I started and how long this took. So it's going to take me like one more day to get these uploaded. But yeah, I feel good about it, and we have a good amount of content covered here. So thank you so much, and I'll probably post updates on like Reddit as this happens. I won't like make another video if I need to, because it's already like super mapped out here. So if I kind of just stay current, I'll just try and keep it that way for now. If I have to make another video, we can get there maybe. But yeah, for now, see y'all on this topic, and I'll see you guys where the music's at.